I did it again. Went live without plugging in my microphone. The one thing. Mic check. Hopefully people can see and hear me. But in the meantime, I'm going to pull my notes up and all that good stuff. I think by the time I get everything up, it'll be time to start. Just about. Well, it's only a minute difference, so yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So, welcome to another episode of Have a Little Talk. I'm gonna turn this a little bit. Cool, that's more comfortable. A little bit. The lighting's better. Anyway, welcome back to another episode of Have a Little Talk with me. Today we are continuing this seasons series. For those who are tuning in, if you can hear me, please let me know. Not sure. I have my microphone plugged up, but I just want to make sure y'all can hear me. But yeah, we're gonna continue the season series. Today we are talking. The topic is Know Thyself. So basically, well, the subtopic is, will the real you please stand up? So yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. We're talking about us knowing ourselves and being honest with ourselves about who we are, where we are in our journey with God, or just in life. This is more of a practical topic. I do have a scripture, and of course we always tie things into God, but this is a more practical topic, if you will. So let's get into it. This is gonna be, short, sweet, to the point. So yeah, let's go. Wait, let me set this up here just so I can have my hands free. Lord, I should have took a little more time to prepare. Let me adjust real quick, y'all. Sorry. That's better. Okay. Alright, so the opening question, very simple. Who are you? It seems like a very simple question, but it's actually pretty loaded. When you take the time to really think about it, it's a pretty loaded question. So what we see growing up becomes what we think is normal. The environment that we grow up in, we think it's normal, whatever that environment may be, and we assume that the rest of the world operates this way. It isn't until we get out into the real world that our assumptions are challenged. It isn't until we get out into the real world that our assumptions are challenged. So, however we grew up, however we were raised, whatever kind of household we came up in, whether it was a single parent, two parent, whether you unfortunately grew up in the system, or however you grew up, whatever environment you grew up in, we normally assume that the rest of the world operates that way. As children, we're dependent on whoever it is, whoever our guardian is. We're dependent on them to teach us right from wrong, to teach us what's acceptable, what's not, what's appropriate, what's not, things like that. And no one's perfect. The adults who raised us were also on a journey of their own. So they don't always get it right. And that's fine. But once we get out from under whatever environment we grew up in, once we get out from under that, we realize, sorry, I hit the mic, but we realize that everyone doesn't live the way that we grew up living, or in the same environment that we came up in. So, us assuming that the whole world is a certain way, it gets challenged once we get out into the real world. We meet different people from different backgrounds, and, we just find these things out. We find out that other people were raised and live differently than we do. These differences cause us to rethink some of the things we've been taught, as well as the things we see and hear. So, if you're still in that environment, or maybe still living with your parents or something like that, and let's say you grow up to be an adult and you get a job, you get you a 9 to 5, and you end up interacting with all these different people from different ways of life, different backgrounds, things like that, and you find out that, especially if you were sheltered, if you were kept from a lot of things, or a lot of things were kept from you, then it can be a bit of a culture shock, really. Getting out there and realizing that some people have other restrictions, some people have other freedoms, either more or less. And it's really eye-opening. That's a good word for it. It's eye-opening. Where was I at? Oh, yeah. It is totally normal to question certain customs and traditions in our culture, whatever that culture may be. I personally think that we all should be doing this for the purpose of gaining understanding. I also believe that it's during this time of discovery that our true personality starts to form. This particular journey takes courage, openness, and honesty. So those are my 3 points if you're taking notes, which I don't think anyone is. But if you want to, those are my 3 points. So I started out just, to kind of catch anybody up. Started out talking about however we're raised. We assume that that's how the rest of the world is. And once we get out into the real world around other people who are from different backgrounds, we realize that, people live different lives. They have different backgrounds. They have different cultures and different customs. So once you're exposed to those other things, it'll cause you to question the culture that you grew up in, and the things that were instilled in you, the things that you were taught, the things that you may still be getting taught, the things that you may still be around. So I personally feel that once we become adults, I feel that we should kind of question some of those traditions, some of those customs, some of the things we've been taught, because a lot of times we don't always know where it came from. We don't always know the purpose. We don't always know the root. So it's good to find out, to just have that understanding, because you never know. Someone you might come across may ask you, hey, why do you do that? And you don't want to be caught off guard. If someone asks you why you do a certain thing, you should be able to have an answer for that. That's just how I feel, me personally. So yeah, this journey, if you do decide to go on that journey of gaining understanding about your culture, your traditions, and customs, and knowing this helps you to know yourself. It kind of helps you get in touch with yourself and who you are. So let's get into it. It takes courage, openness, and honesty. Those are the three points: courage, openness, and honesty. So first, be courageous. A lot of traditions are followed blindly without question. So, your family, they may do certain things a certain way, and their reasoning will be, well, that's just how we've always done it. For me personally, that's not enough. I've always been very curious. I always wanted to know why. And if you're anything like me, finding out why is pretty important. So, yeah. You are not wrong for seeking understanding and wanting to know more. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Asking questions is not disrespectful. It's not. I know, unfortunately, some children get scolded for asking the simple question, why? I'm not a parent yet, But this is just my opinion. If you disagree, that's fine. But this is my show and I'm going to say what I want. But I feel like some adults expect children to be like fully developed, and they forget that they're children who are still learning and growing. And I think, I personally think it's okay if a child asks why, because sometimes, they're not challenging your authority. Sometimes they genuinely want to know, like, why are you asking me to, why do I need to do this? Like, why are you asking me, like, what's the purpose? I feel like they're asking why to gain understanding, not to challenge your authority, and not to discredit you as a parent. So yeah, I'm gonna leave that alone. That's just how I feel. I'm gonna leave it alone. But yeah, asking questions is not disrespectful. If the person you're asking gets tense or irritable, they're mad because they didn't have the courage to dig like you are digging. And that's for the adults. That's for the if you're grown and you decided to go on this journey of finding out, why do we do this? Why do we do that? Why do we not do this? Why do we avoid that? Why don't we talk about this? Those kind of things. So sometimes people know why. That's what my mom used to say. See? Like sometimes, oh shucks, I lost my train of thought. Right. So sometimes if you're asking someone, they may know and they may not know. And if they don't, if someone asks you and you don't know, then it's okay to admit that. Like honestly, I don't know. We've been doing this for so long. It's just the thing. Like, and maybe y'all can find out together. That could be a thing as well. Maybe you could take someone else along your journey of gaining that understanding. But yeah, if you as an adult ask another adult in the family, like, hey, why do we do this? Why do we do that? Why do we not do this, that, and the third, and they get like upset with you or something like that, then you struck a nerve. And if you don't feel like getting into it, listen, just find somebody else to ask. It's not always worth the back and forth, trying to figure that out. My next point, under be courageous, it's okay to start your own traditions. All it takes is one decision by one person. If you think about it, that's kind of how traditions started. Like, I thought the first example I thought of was like Sunday dinners. There's some families who still get together on Sunday evenings and they all have dinner together. That tradition, along with many others, it all started with maybe like one person or one couple, one family. They decided, hey, I want to bring the family together once a week. We can cook, everybody can come over here after church or whatever. We have a good time. They did it. Everyone came together. They enjoyed themselves. It was a vibe. They kept it going. And then the next generation kept it going. And the next one, and the next one, and the next one. That's how traditions start. It starts with a decision like, hey, I want to do this. Let's give it a try. That's it. And it's totally fine to start your own traditions. Me personally, I'm trying to start my own traditions because eventually I'm going to have my own family. And I'm still going to connect with my family and my husband's family, but, I want to have traditions of my own, create memories for me and my husband and our children when we have them. And, it's totally fine to start your own traditions. So yeah. And the last point under be courageous is it is entirely your choice whether or not you want to explain yourself or whether or not to explain yourself. So, if you do decide to start your own traditions or do your own thing or go your own way, that's your choice. If you're not hurting anybody, if you're not committing any crimes, if you're not putting yourself or anyone else in danger, like, I don't see, like, if it's not leading to yours or anyone else's ultimate demise, then I don't really I don't really see the need to explain yourself if you don't have to. If you want to, fine. Excuse me. But if you don't want to, that's fine as well. Because at the end of the day, it's your life. You know, since I'm tying in like the God aspect, if you're following God, if it's the decision that He wanted you to make, then that's all the explanation you need. If you're following God, that's it. You know, but on the flip side, don't play the God card if you know that's not what He said. Or if He didn't tell you, you know, because some people be lying. Some people will lie on God. But that's another topic for another day. Yeah. So the next part of knowing yourself, getting to know yourself, kind of getting to the root of yourself, who you truly are, is to be open. Once you get around other people who are from different backgrounds and different walks of life, it's good to be open. And even when you're digging into your own cultures and traditions and customs, things like that, the things that make you you, it's good to be open. Because you never know what you're going to find out. Like, the root and reason for these customs and traditions, they could surprise you, either in a good or a bad way. You know, being Black in America, unfortunately, our journey in America started in slavery. And so over time, as an adult, I've been learning like just how much of the Black culture is rooted in slavery. A lot of things we know, a lot of things we don't know, and I'm just like constantly finding new stuff out. So like, I mean, I think we all pretty much know about Negro spirituals. You know, that was their way of sending messages back and forth to each other. Also, when I found out about hush puppies, that kind of made me say it. Finding out about hush puppies, from it may or may not be true, but from what I heard or what I was told, the slaves made them when they were running to freedom, and the slave masters were looking for them with the dogs. They would throw the hush puppies in another direction, so that the dogs would go after them, after the food, and not the slaves. That was their way of avoiding them. The one that kind of made me mad was the whole ushering thing. Like, some of the things we do when we usher, that is also rooted in slavery. So when the slave masters would go to church, they would make the slaves usher, take people to their seats, all those things like that. The white gloves were because they believed that the Black people's hands were dirty, and they didn't want them like directly touching them or anything else in the church, kind of like tainting it. That's why they wore white gloves. And then if you ever been to church and you notice that during offering they stand like this, yeah, that's another one. The slave masters would make the slaves stand like this during offering to make sure that they weren't stealing their money during offering. So yeah, that kind of like, that was irritating, because I was just like, that's doing the most. But we live in a different time now. So yeah, that's another example. Another interesting thing I found out about the Black culture is some people are like really big on titles and things like that. Like, oh, you have to call me this or you have to call me that. Please. But again, back in those days, white people were calling us the N-word, boy, very disrespectful things. So when we started our own churches and we got a position in church, whether it be lead usher, deacon, evangelist, whatever, we took pride in that. And unfortunately, there were some people who took a little too much pride in that, and kind of like, I guess, put too much stock in it, like gave it too, like kind of like did too much with it. And they were like, oh, well, I'm this, I'm that, you have to respect me, da 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 da. Like, when it comes to titles, it's like, when it comes to titles in the body of Christ, um, they're not things that we worked for. Like, your title is something that God chose for you. Like, God chose you to be whatever it is that you are. You know, God chose me to be a minister. So, no matter what path in life I took, eventually I was going to end up becoming a minister. It was just going to happen because God chose me for that. Now, on the flip side, if I were to go to school and gain a doctorate's degree, yeah, it's Dr. Everything. Yeah, Dr. Malika Harris. It's going to be on all my social media. It's going to be everywhere. Like, yes, call me doctor because I earned that. I worked for that. But titles in the church, like, that's, like, most titles are, it's something that God chose you for. It's not something that you worked for. I did not wake up one day and decide to be a minister. Listen, between you and me, I don't even want this title. Don't even, if I could give it back, I would, and just do the work. I don't need a title. Because at the end of the day, if God is pleased with what I'm doing, who cares if I have a title? I don't want him to know my title. I want him to know my name. Does he know my name? Does he know my voice? Does he know your name? Does he know your voice? So yeah, before I get off topic, yeah, but I just had to get that out. But the root and reason for certain customs and traditions, they could surprise you. So it's good to be open. And, you know, I'm just going to assume that if you're on this journey, you already know that you don't know everything. So be teachable. Be open and be teachable. So yeah. The last point is to be honest. You got to be honest with yourself. Be honest with who you are. Be honest with where you are. Like, if you don't know yourself, that's okay. It doesn't matter. Like, I didn't really start getting in touch with who I was truly, like at my core, until recently. I think, like, yeah, like when I turned 30 last year, I really like delved into, I was like, okay, I need to figure this out. Like, who am I? Who is Malika? What do I like? What do I not like? What am I willing to tolerate? What is a absolute immediate no for me? Those kind of things. It's been quite the journey. It's been up, down, all over the place, but I have figured it out, and I'm becoming a better person. It's helping with my confidence, things like that. All the good things. This is going to be a quicker episode, and that is okay. So, I posted this status earlier this week about not having to announce who you are. Who or what you are. Like, what your true nature, whoever you truly are on the inside, it's gonna come out. No matter how much you try to hide, no matter what front you put on, what facade you try to hide behind, whatever's in you is gonna come out. Your true character will naturally exude from you. That's what I wrote down in my notes. If you're constantly having to tell people who you actually are, like if you're constantly having to tell people, like announce it, like, oh, I'm a good person, I'm whatever, you know, like, who are you actually trying to convince? Like, ask yourself that. Who were you really trying to convince? Because people are not stupid. Like, it's not hard to tell when someone is putting up a front, when someone is pretending, when someone is, you know, acting like someone they're not. It's clear. It's clear. Like, honestly, who are you trying to hide? I mean, what are you trying to hide? Like, who are you trying to convince? So, yeah, people can already tell. You know, I know somebody who, like, is still trying to convince people that he is a bad person. He's always talking about, oh, I'm a bad guy. And I'm like, you're not. You're not, but okay. And on the flip side, like, there's some men who like basically are coming just short of yelling in your face, I'm a good man, I'm a good man. Okay, if you're a good man, then that's just who you are. Like the good men that I know don't have to tell people that they're a good man. My husband, perfect example. He's a great man actually, but I'm biased because that's my man. Um, he's a good man. He is not going around telling people that. Most times, other people are saying it about him because again, that's his true nature. That's his true character. So that's what comes out of him is him being nice, him being patient, him being forgiving, all the good things that he is. And, same thing with my brothers. Like, they're good men. That's just, if you ever been to a funeral and like everyone, they all have good things to say about this person. That's how you know. That was their character. That's how they lived. That's what was in them. And sometimes, in figuring out who you are, you just have to live life. You have to live life. You can't hide. You can't be afraid. You can't run. Or you can only run but so much. Eventually you'll get tired. Naturally and figuratively. You can't run forever. You can't hide forever. Eventually you have to go out in public or be around other people. And in those experiences and in these interactions with other people, your true nature will come out. Like, what was it? Yesterday? Maybe? I think it was yesterday. Yesterday I was at work and there was this guest that I served earlier this week. He came back in yesterday and he didn't want anything. He just had to use the bathroom. So I was like, okay, yeah, straight ahead. Go ahead. He comes out the bathroom and he's like, I love you guys. Have a great day. And without even thinking, I'm like, we love you. Like, just like that. Same energy. And everybody was just looking at me crazy. And I'm like, what? I was like, what? Are we not supposed to love people? Like, they're looking at me crazy. I'm looking at them crazy. But they were like, yeah, that was a lot. And I'm like, well, I mean, it just naturally came out of me. Believe it or not, I am a nice person. I'm quiet and observant, but I am a nice person. I do love people. So that's what naturally came out of me. So, as you go through life, just whatever is in you is going to come out. And, if you're courageous, open, and honest, I feel like the more you dig, the more that you, the more that you dig and find out and get to the core of your being, you'll find out who you are. For sure. Like, you'll know who you are. And the real you will stand up. So, before I wrap this up, I just want to give y'all scripture that kind of goes along with our topic today. So, the scripture I found was Matthew 7, verse 15 through 20. Yeah. It said, this is the New Living Translation. So, it says, beware of false prophets who come disguised as harmless sheep, but are really vicious wolves. You can identify them by their fruit. That is, by the way they act. Can you pick grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? A good tree produces good fruit, and a bad tree produces bad fruit. A good tree can't produce bad fruit, and a bad tree can't produce good fruit. So every tree that does not produce good fruit is chopped down and thrown into the fire. Yes, just as you can identify a tree by its fruit, so you can identify people by their actions. Simply put, in black and white, whoever you are, you're like, whatever comes out naturally, that's who you are. And if you just so happen to not like what's coming out of you, you can, that the beauty is that you can change it. It is possible. Like, you don't have to stay I was thinking about the song. You don't have to stay in the shape that you're in. the the song about the potter wants to put you back together again. That came to my head. But anyway, it's true. You don't have to stay in the shape that you're in. If you don't like what's coming out of you, if you don't like if you don't like who you are, you can change it. It's all up to you. And again, it takes courage, openness, and honesty. Those are the 3 things it takes. It is possible. You can do it. So, we're going to go ahead and wrap up there. This was a quick episode. 30 minutes, short, sweet, and to the point. I want to thank everybody who joined me today, who tuned in. Please like, share, tag, if you enjoyed this message, if you think someone else needs to hear this message, if you're watching the replay and want to save it and share it, whatever you want to do, it's up to you. But yeah, I appreciate y'all for tuning in and joining me for this little talk. I am not sure what the next topic is going to be, but I will be in prayer and I will let y'all know. As soon as I know, I will let y'all know. But the plan is to be back again on next Thursday. I have a consistent schedule now. Thank you, Lord. So I will be back next Thursday with another topic, another little talk. And yeah, until then, y'all be easy. Have a great week. Have a great weekend. And until next time, see you later.